All right, so are you ready to dive deep into some listener-submitted material?
Always ready.
Okay, awesome. We're looking at excerpts from DIY Gone Wrong, Tales from the Apocalypse.
Sounds promising.
It is from the Podcast Paradox podcast,
Not
and
heard of that one.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's all about those like well-intentioned souls who, when faced with the end of the world as we know it,
Of course.
decided to get a little crafty with, questionable results.
Yeah, the apocalypse DIers.
Exactly. Ever wonder like what not to do when the zombies come knocking?
I mean, who hasn't?
Right. Well, we're about to find out.
Let's do it.
Okay, so first up, we've got Gary and his pool noodle bunker.
Pool noodles.
No, okay. So, I mean, pool noodles, they're cheap, plentiful, floaty. You can kind of see the logic.
I guess I can see where he's going with it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this highlights a really common pitfall we see in survival situations.
Yeah.
People gravitate towards what they know, what feels safe and familiar.
Like, that makes sense.
But, like, Gary probably associated pool noodles with, like, fun in the sun, relaxation.
Right. Good times.
Safety even. But applying that to a life or death scenario,
Yeah.
maybe not the best idea.
Yeah, not so much.
Not so much. No,
So the result was about as sturdy as you'd expect.
I can imagine.
The first storm rolls in, and Gary's bunker is basically, just dissolves into a sad, soggy pile of foam.
Oh, no.
Can you just picture him, like, clinging to a rogue pool noodle, just drifting off into that post-apocalyptic sunset?
You've painted quite the picture there.
It's a good reminder that understanding the properties of materials, like, it's crucial.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You wouldn't build a house out of marshmallows, right?
Well, now I kind of want to.
Okay, fair enough, but you get the idea.
I do.
The stakes are just a little bit higher here.
For sure.
Okay, speaking of questionable material choices, let's talk about Denise and her tinfoil shield.
Ooh, tinfoil.
Mhm.
Intriguing.
Right. Denise was like convinced that tinfoil could protect against anything, even mind control rays.
Ah, Denise. A classic example of someone holding on to a belief no matter what.
Right. Full bodysuit, check. Tinfoil hat, double check.
The whole 9 yards.
Did she like stumble onto something about electromagnetic fields and how they could be used, or was this just her finding comfort in something familiar?
It's a good question.
It is, right? It makes you think.
It really does.
Whatever the motivation, her attempt at this DIY Faraday cage.
Oh, a Faraday cage. Okay.
Yeah, it had some toasty consequences.
I am sensing a story here.
Oh, yeah. So she was also a big believer in energy generator,
Energy generator.
which in her world meant a souped-up microwave.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah, you can see where this is going. And that's where the science comes in. A real Faraday cage needs to be grounded. Like, it needs to be an enclosure that redirects electromagnetic energy.
Right.
Denise, bless her heart,
Bless her heart.
she essentially built a microwave oven around herself.
Oh, Denise.
So instead of blocking mind control rays, she ended up giving herself a close encounter of the microwave,
Oh, my goodness.
like singed eyebrows and a newfound respect for physics were the order of the day.
You've got to respect the laws of physics.
Yeah. Makes you wonder if just a well-grounded metal shed wouldn't have been a better option.
Right. Simple, effective.
Exactly.
Sometimes the simplest solution is the best.
Okay. Are you ready for a story that's equal parts head-scratching and strangely ingenious?
Hit me with it.
All right, so this is Kyle and his zombie-proof fence.
Okay, I'm intrigued already.
So most people, when faced with the need to keep out hordes of, the undead,
Zombies, yeah.
yeah, they reach for, I don't know, barbed wire, metal sheeting.
Sensible choices.
Right, the classics.
Yeah.
Not Kyle. Kyle saw the apocalypse and raised it.
Raised at what?
A roll of duct tape.
Duct tape.
Duct tape. His logic, zombies being, a little clumsy, decomposing. They get all tangled up in the sticky mess.
Ambitious.
It was ambitious, I'll give him that. Except, well, duct tape, as versatile as it is, it has its limits. Turns out when you're frantically trying to repair a sagging section of your duct tape fortress, you might just become the main attraction.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and there he was, stuck fast to his own creation.
How ironic.
Right. While the zombies presumably looked on in a state of, like, confused, shambling amusement.
You've got to imagine they were at least a little bit entertained.
What does this tell us?
Well, I think it's a reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions really are the most effective.
True.
And sometimes the most readily available materials are just, well, not the right ones for the job.
You've got to use the right tool for the job.
Exactly. And sometimes, you really should just invest in some proper barbed wire.
Sometimes you just got to go with the classics.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, next up, we have a story that proves that laughter really can be the best medicine.
Oh, I like this one already.
Even in the apocalypse.
Especially in the apocalypse.
Especially in the apocalypse. So this is Sarah and her glitter bomb defense system.
Glitter bombs. Tell me more.
Right. So Sarah, a former party planner, decided to embrace her inner sparkle enthusiast
I love it.
and turn those skills into something surprisingly effective.
Okay, now that's thinking outside the box.
Right. Like, who would have thought that a background in balloon animals and confetti cannons would translate to post-apocalyptic defense?
Not me, but I'm here for it.
Right. And while glitter bombs might not be, lethal,
Sure.
they certainly are distracting.
Oh, absolutely.
Picture this. A band of hardened raiders, all geared up, ready to pillage.
Oh, yeah. Classic raider move.
Suddenly, they find themselves covered head to toe in glitter.
I would not want to be them.
The element of surprise, the sheer absurdity of it all, it totally threw them off their game.
They wouldn't know what hit them.
Right.
That's brilliant.
So they say laughter is the best medicine, but in this case, it might have also been the best defense.
Maybe they were just trying to avoid further glitterification.
Talk about a nonviolent victory. It just goes to show sometimes the most unexpected approaches, they can yield the most surprising results.
You never know what's going to work.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if a well-placed pie to the face might have a similar effect.
We could explore that in another deep dive.
Okay, let's put a pin in that one.
Definitely.
But it does raise a really interesting point. In a survival situation, adaptability
Being able to think on your feet.
and thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
Like, those can be just as crucial as physical strength or weaponry.
It's not always about brute force.
Exactly. Sometimes outsmarting your opponent, or at least, making them laugh, is the best strategy.
Sometimes the best weapon is a good laugh.
That's a good one. All right, so we've had a good laugh at the expense of these well-meaning but misguided apocalypse preppers.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah, it's all in good fun. But before we get too smug, let's take a step back. What can we learn from their misadventures?
That's a great question. What's fascinating to me is that these stories, even though they're funny, they actually reveal a lot about human psychology in a crisis.
Oh, interesting.
Like the need to feel in control, the desire to cling to those familiar comforts,
Makes sense.
the tendency to overestimate our own abilities.
It's like even in the face of the unimaginable, our brains are still trying to make sense of things.
Exactly.
Still clinging to a sense of normalcy.
Exactly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because it's that drive, that resourcefulness
Yeah.
that allows us to adapt and overcome these crazy challenges.
Right. We need that.
We do. But we also need to temper that with, a healthy dose of realism.
Yeah, practicality.
Critical thinking.
Don't forget the research.
Yes, research. Before we go building a tinfoil bunker in the backyard.
Okay, so what's the key takeaway for our listeners today?
What wisdom can we glean from these tales of DIY disaster? I'd say the biggest takeaway is this. Preparation matters.
Preparation is key.
Don't wait for the zombies to show up before you figure out how to, purify water or build a fire.
Or make a glitter bomb.
And make a glitter bomb, yes. Knowledge is power, especially when the power grid is down.
Right, because it's not enough to just stockpile duct tape and pool noodles.
Right. You need to know how and when to use them effectively.
You've got to have a plan.
And that's where research comes in. Learn about basic survival skills, understand the principles behind shelter construction, fire starting, first aid. There's so many resources available.
The internet's a wonderful thing.
It is until it's not.
That's very true.
But, there are libraries, there are books.
And don't underestimate the value of practical experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Take a wilderness survival course, learn how to build a fire without matches, practice some basic first aid.
Those skills will come in handy no matter what.
Exactly. It's one thing to read about how to build a shelter. It's another to actually do it,
Right. You need to get your hands dirty.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll be no matter what situation you find yourself in.
Confidence is key.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what not to do, but let's flip the script.
Oh, okay. I like where this is going.
If you had to design one apocalypse survival tool, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And no karaoke mics allowed.
Okay, no karaoke mics. That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
I think I'd go with something simple, versatile, adaptable.
Okay, I like it.
Something that can be used in multiple situations. So I'm thinking like a sturdy, lightweight tarp
A tarp. Okay, that seems pretty basic.
It does, but think about it. A tarp can be a shelter, right? It can be a water collector,
Oh,
a signaling device, even a makeshift stretcher in a pinch.
wow. Okay. Multi-purpose.
It's lightweight, durable, easily repaired. Plus, if you're feeling a little crafty, you can combine it with other materials to make more complex structures.
So it's like the foundation for bigger things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm trying to make here. It's not about fancy gadgets.
Right. It's not about having the coolest gear.
It's about understanding the fundamentals
Resourcefulness.
and being able to adapt to whatever comes your way.
Because those are skills that are valuable even in a non-apocalyptic world, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like problem solving, improvisation, thinking creatively.
Those will serve you well no matter what challenges you face.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of DIY apocalypse fails,
It's been a journey.
what's the ultimate message that you want to leave our listeners with?
I'd say this. Learn from the mistakes of others.
Always good advice.
Embrace preparedness.
You prepared.
But don't lose sight of that human element.
Yeah.
It's our resilience,
Right.
our ingenuity, our ability to laugh even when things are tough. That's what's going to see us through.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thanks.
So to our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this hilarious and insightful journey. Remember, stay curious, stay prepared, and maybe, just maybe, keep a roll of duct tape handy.
I never know.
You never know when it might come in handy.
You never know.
All right, up next, we've got part 2 of our deep dive into DIY gone wrong.
Can't wait.
All right, so you knew this one was coming.
I think we all did.
It's Dave and his homemade flamethrower. A hot mess. I mean, I get it, flamethrowers, they've got that.
That apocalyptic appeal.
Yeah.
Right. It's that primal connection to fire.
Totally.
Fire as both destroyer and purifier.
It's powerful stuff.
It really is.
And let's be honest, a little bit cool, right?
Oh, for sure.
But Dave, bless his heart,
Bless his heart.
he took this fascination just a little too far.
I'm sensing this didn't end well.
Garden hose, lighter fluid, and a healthy disregard for the laws of physics. What could go wrong?
Oh, Dave.
The result, well, let's just say his lawn got a little crispier than he intended.
At least it wasn't the house.
Luckily, Dave escaped relatively unscathed, but I mean, it's a stark reminder that some DIY projects
Are best left to the professionals.
Yeah, or maybe just avoid it altogether.
Especially when you're dealing with something as inherently dangerous as fire.
Right, right. It's not just about, the risk of personal injury.
It's about the potential consequences for everyone around you.
A runaway flamethrower in a dry post-apocalyptic landscape. Recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's talk about Linda and her apocalypse multi-tool. That was it.
Okay, multi-tools. Always a good topic.
Linda, bless her ambitious soul,
Always prepared.
wanted to be ready for anything. So she set out to create like the ultimate survival tool, right? The one that could handle any situation the apocalypse threw at her.
Sounds ambitious.
The problem, she might have gotten a little carried away with the features.
I've been there.
Linda's creation was more of a Frankensteinian hodgepodge of gadgets,
Okay, I'm picturing it.
all crammed together with little thought to practicality or ergonomics.
Form over function.
Imagine a Swiss Army knife crossed with a toolbox, then add a dash of
Don't tell me. A karaoke machine.
built-in karaoke mic, folks.
Oh, Linda.
Because what's surviving the apocalypse without a rousing rendition of I Will Survive?
Priorities, right.
Except the mic, it drained the battery life, the tool weighed a ton,
Not very practical.
and the only thing Linda ended up fighting was her own unwieldy creation.
So a valuable lesson in prioritization.
For sure, for sure.
In a survival scenario, every ounce counts.
Right. Every bit of energy is precious.
You need to focus on the essentials.
Yeah.
A sharp blade, a sturdy fire starter.
A reliable way to purify water.
Exactly. The karaoke can wait.
Speaking of misplaced priorities, let's end our journey with Pete and his air mattress fortress.
Air mattress fortress. Okay, this I've got to hear.
Now, on the surface, it's kind of brilliant, right?
I mean, I guess.
Air mattresses.
Uh-huh.
Portable, inflatable, readily available. Surround your home with this cushion of air, and what could possibly penetrate that?
A lot of things, actually.
Well, a sharp stick for one.
Yeah.
Or a stray arrow.
Pretty much anything pointy.
Or a particularly determined raccoon.
You'd be surprised how determined those raccoons can be.
Air mattresses, while comfy for slumber parties, are notoriously susceptible to punctures.
Not exactly known for their durability.
A fact that Pete, unfortunately, learned the hard way.
Oh, Pete.
Picture this. Raiders approaching Pete's inflatable fortress, weapons at the ready,
I can see it now.
looking all menacing,
The dramatic music is swelling.
and then one stray arrow
One stray arrow.
just deflates the whole operation. Talk about anticlimactic.
That's hilarious.
The raiders, instead of being intimidated, were reportedly so amused they gifted Pete a roll of duct tape to patch things up.
Duct tape to the rescue again.
Maybe they knew Kyle and wanted to save him the trouble.
It's a small apocalypse after all.
But it also, it underscores a key principle of defense.
Which is,
Choose your materials wisely.
common sense goes a long way.
Durability, resilience. Those things are important.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, so we've had a good laugh at the expense of these well-meaning but misguided apocalypse preppers.
We've all been there.
But before we get too smug, let's take a step back. What can we all learn from their misadventures?
That's the important question, isn't it? It's fascinating to me that these stories, as funny as they are, they actually reveal a lot about how we react under pressure.
In a crisis situation.
Exactly. The need for control, the desire to cling to what's familiar, even when it's clearly not working.
It's like our brains are trying to make sense of the chaos.
Right. Like even in the face of the unimaginable, we're still looking for that sense of normalcy.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, is it?
Not at all. It's that drive, that resourcefulness that helps us adapt and overcome challenges.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly. Embracing that ingenuity, but tempering it with a healthy dose of realism, critical thinking, and maybe a little bit of research before we start building our tinfoil bunkers.
Research is key. So what's the key takeaway for our listener today? What wisdom can they glean from these tales of DIY disaster?
I think the biggest takeaway here is that preparation matters.
No, absolutely.
Like, don't wait for the zombies to show up
Right.
before you figure out how to purify water
Exactly.
or build a fire.
Or fashion a weapon out of, I don't know, a spatula
Or a glitter bomb.
or a glitter bomb, yes.
Knowledge is power, especially when the power grid is down,
Especially then.
because it's not enough to just stockpile, duct tape and pool noodles.
You got to know how to use them.
You've got to have a plan.
Exactly.
And that's where the research comes in.
Research is key.
Learn about basic survival skills.
Right. The fundamentals.
Understand the principles behind
Uh,
shelter construction.
Fire starting, first aid.
First aid.
There are so many resources available.
The internet's a wonderful thing.
It is until it's not.
That's very true. That's very true.
But there are libraries, there are books.
And don't underestimate the value of practical experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Take a wilderness survival course.
Get out there.
Learn how to build a fire without matches.
Yeah.
Practice some basic first aid.
Those skills will come in handy no matter what. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's one thing to read about how to build a shelter.
Right.
It's another to actually do it.
Take your hands dirty.
The more you practice,
Yeah.
the more confident you'll be,
Confidence is key.
no matter what situation you find yourself in.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what not to do in this deep dive.
The DIY don'ts.
But let's flip the script.
Okay, I like where this is going.
If you had to design one apocalypse survival tool, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And no karaoke mics allowed.
Okay, no karaoke mics. That's a tough one. I think I'd go with something, simple,
Okay,
versatile, adaptable,
I like it.
something that could be used in multiple situations. I'm thinking like a sturdy, lightweight tarp.
A tarp. Okay, that seems pretty basic.
It does, but think about it. A tarp can be a shelter.
Okay.
It can be a water collector,
Right.
a signaling device,
Wow.
even a makeshift stretcher in a pinch.
Okay. Multi-purpose.
It's lightweight, durable, easily repaired. Plus, with a little ingenuity, you can combine it with other materials to make more complex structures.
So it's like the foundation for bigger and better things.
Exactly. And that's the point I'm trying to make. It's not about fancy gadgets or high-tech solutions.
Right. It's not about having the coolest gear.
It's about understanding the fundamentals
Resourcefulness.
and being able to adapt to whatever comes your way.
Because those are skills that are valuable even in a non-apocalyptic world, right?
Oh, for sure.
Problem solving, improvisation,
Right.
thinking creatively.
Absolutely. Those will serve you well no matter what challenges you face.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of DIY apocalypse fails,
It's been a journey.
what's the ultimate message you want to leave our listeners with?
I'd say this. Learn from the mistakes of others.
Always good advice.
Embrace preparedness, but don't lose sight of that human element, you know?
Yeah.
It's our resilience, our ingenuity, our ability to laugh even when things are tough.
Yeah.
That's what's going to see us through.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thanks.
So to our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this hilarious and insightful journey. Remember, stay curious, stay prepared, and maybe, just maybe, keep a roll of duct tape handy.
You never know.
You never know when it might come in handy.
You never know.
And that's our show for today. Thanks for tuning in.